good evening in Australia, good morning in the United Kingdom, and it is a good evening and it is a good morning because Newcastle have had an absolutely fantastic victory. We've had some good wins to talk about on the podcast lately, but I've got a feeling that this one's probably going to be up there with the best, our most favourite wins that we've talked about. It was absolutely brilliant. I'm Jack. I'm still in isolation, so all I've had to do all day today is watch replays of the game and go on Twitter and watch all of the content from Newcastle, the official Newcastle feed, which has been absolutely spot on. So fantastic. We have Craig and Kens. How are you doing, Craig?
Great, mate, and even better after that amazing win this morning.
Yep, we will talk all about it. And we've got Bobby. How are you, Bobby, in Ballarat?
Good, Jack. Going fabulously well today. It's been a great day.
One of those days, isn't it, where the match is finished and it's 7 o'clock in the morning and your whole day, your whole day is going to be good.
Yeah,
you don't have to try and go to sleep.
A lot of sharing of videos and rewatching the videos, and yeah, just nuts. I had a big important presentation today, but all the way there and all the way after it was about Newcastle. So yeah, fantastic.
Brilliant stuff. So that was Newcastle's first win over a top 6 team this season. So we'd drawn 1 and we'd lost the other 10. So this was the 12th time of asking. It was only the second win over Arsenal in the last 20 attempts. We talked about that. We talked about it on the preview, how our record against Arsenal is absolutely terrible. And we're now 4th in the Premier League table since Christmas with 36 points, which is the biggest Premier League improvement ever from before and after Christmas. So that tells you why Eddie Howe is quite rightly in the conversation for Manager of the Year. And last time I think he was just behind Klopp the last time we checked, and I think voting might be closed now. So hopefully all the Man U fans and everyone else who hates Liverpool and who Klopp's been annoying because he's been whining again about fixture scheduling. Hopefully they all vote for Eddie as well. So I'm going to come to you, Bobby, first. This win, Newcastle 2, Arsenal 0. We're going to talk all about the game, but first, just for you, what do you think this win means for Newcastle?
It's sort of it was fantastic. I can't remember a time where we dominated a game like that, where it was just front foot pressure. And I think as we were chatting before the pod, I can't remember a spell of possession from Arsenal. Now, this is not a team that's mid-table or relegation. This is a team that was the favourites to hit the top 4 about 3 weeks ago. So a Champions League fighting team, and we absolutely dominated it. And I think what this showed me, or showed our fans, was a glimpse into the future of what we could become. I mean, the fans were electric. We'll speak about Mark and his experience as well, but war flags, amazing, the atmosphere, electric, and our players just went, you know what, we're gonna give it all. And it was a game where I've said it on Twitter, I had tears in my eye watching it this morning because it was just a remarkable performance from a club where we were. I just sort of remembered where we were in December to seeing what we saw this morning. So yeah, brilliant.
We've had games where the points have been more important this season. So Everton is the first one that comes to mind, and Leeds, where we were scrapping down at the bottom. The points didn't really matter that much in this game because we know that we're going to finish mid-table. Mm-hmm. But for me, this was the game where, and I was watching it on Sky, and we had Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher, and they were saying that at the end, like, there was a lot of talk about Arsenal and how bad Arsenal are, just because that's what happens with Sky, and that was their story. But to be fair to Carragher and Neville, they basically just said that top teams will be worried now about Newcastle. I think that when you see the stadium like that, and when you see the fact that everyone at the club is pulling together, I think that the Premier League is going to sit up and notice now that Newcastle are back. Newcastle are back, and Newcastle are going to be a serious threat. And I think Arsenal are one of the clubs that is gonna worry a lot about that. Go, Bobby.
Yeah, sorry. I think that's what I meant by exactly showing a glimpse into the future, because we've got a united club now, and we bossed a team that was up up there. I think it was important for us to get a win against one of the top six. We've been absolutely battered. I mean, even the Liverpool game, we only lost the 1-0, but we weren't in for a chance that game either. So it was important we got a victory over one of these teams, but to do it in the style we did, it sort of breathed confidence into the plan or what's going to happen and what Eddie's just starting to do. It's just remarkable, really. And yeah, I think I heard it the same on my Arsenal supporting boss. Wasn't really keen on taking my phone call today, but when we spoke about it, he sort of said, yeah, we've missed an opportunity and now we've got you guys who are going to push us all the way for that next opportunity. So I think everyone is starting to take notice of what we're doing.
Yeah, I think Man United, I think Spurs, these clubs will be looking over the shoulder and they'll be seeing the energy that's around Newcastle at the moment and the potential. And I think they'll be feeling a bit nervous, and that's probably a lot to do with why they've been doing what they have been doing through the Premier League to try and put a bit of a stop to us or put the brakes on us a little bit, which hopefully they're not going to be able to get away with that. But Craig, I'll come to you as well. What do you think this win means to Newcastle United?
Just to re-emphasize what Bobby said, I literally had tears in my eyes when that final whistle went. It was just such an emotional game because we played so well. I think the last time we played that well was probably under Sir Bobby. And I can't remember under Pardew we ever played that good. Maybe when we beat Man United 3-0. But even then, I don't think it was as good as that. But yeah, Sir Bobby springs to mind for games. And it was just so good to see. And I think it was the first time the players matched the crowd this season. Because the crowd was just absolutely phenomenal. It really was. But the players, they responded with every single ounce of effort they've got. And it was just glorious to watch. And if that's a taste of what's to come, bring it on.
I think the crowd as well, just to go on, played a factor in the way Arsenal performed. I watched the replay of them walking out, and you see a few of their inexperienced players just looking around. I think they were taken away by what the atmosphere was like, and you could see that a few of their experienced players were sort of like, trying to be, straight and it's not going to affect me. But they're younger players, and they're the youngest team in the Premier League. We can't forget. I think it knocked them about at the start. So, yeah, our crowd is just there's no atmosphere like it, is there? No, not in England anyway.
No, and I was gonna come on to that. One of my points that I had for what it means is that St James's Park is now a fortress again. St James's Park is a fortress. We've won. We've gotten beat by Liverpool, which was a deserved defeat, but we'd won the last 6 in a row before then. We've won this one. We couldn't win. We couldn't win for months at the start of the season, and I know that War Flags were there before with when Rafa was there, and then they sort of left, and I don't think they felt welcome, or they didn't feel like they were valued, and there was nothing really worth supporting on the pitch. But I want to dedicate a little bit of time to War Flags because it's just been so absolutely phenomenal, and that was the best display they've done. The blue star, there's something about the blue star and the gold trim that's just
iconic,
amazing.
Isn't it?
But there was a nice line from Colkin and Chris Waugh who said that the Newcastle team played like the crowd sounded. And I thought that was really good because you could even see that coming through from the TV. But on the TV, the flags were going from 15 minutes before kickoff. I used to remember when I used to go to the game and we would still be in the pub 10 minutes before kickoff. We'd have one more quick pint and then run up to the ground and get there just in time for kickoff.
Yeah, I think the only time I went early was when my first game I went there. I wanted to get there half an hour before and just sit there and take it in. But every time after that, it was no. I'm staying at the pub until I get told it's going to be kicked off. So, and
I've seen people, fans on Twitter who've been getting there early, and then I've had friends send me videos from where they were. And Mark was obviously there, so he sent us the video. It's just absolutely amazing. Craig, what do you think the impact of War Flags has been? The War Flags guys went to the training ground as well, didn't they?
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah, they've got photos taken with all the players and the background staff and Eddie and whatever and his team. But I think what they've done is they've united a fractured fan base. because there was a point where it was literally we were Newcastle disjointed, but weren't Newcastle United. They brought everyone back together, and some of the things they've done, the likes of the David Kelly one, I think it was for the Liverpool game, remembering moments like that, because you're going to get some of the fans who they're going to hear that back to days when they seen the club as being as good as it was, moments like that, getting back to the glory time. And I think it's absolutely superb. And I do just genuinely think that it is probably the best display, not just in England, but maybe even in Europe. It could at one point maybe even push Borussia Dortmund's yellow wall, because that thing is just absolutely phenomenal. If we can get anywhere close to that, and it's just going to give us a reputation, which is going to potentially make the games hostile. It's going to make the atmosphere bubbling from the first whistle. And like I said, I've never heard the crowd so pumped up like I did today. It was fucking phenomenal.
I remember the Spurs game, the first game after the takeover, and everyone was just so excited, and the crowd, everyone was just like in an absolute frenzy. And then the players came out and they were in a frenzy. And then by 5 minutes, they were done. They were absolutely spent. They'd shot the load. That was it. They were gone.
They were still getting trained by Steve Bruce now. That's why.
Yeah. But it was they fed off the crowd on that occasion, but they fed too much, and then they just couldn't. And also they weren't fit because they hadn't been training. But Bobby, in terms of the war flags, do you think this can attract players to sign for Newcastle?
I think so. I think it sort of plays into the whole club, doesn't it? I think the club's united. The fans are, you just hear Joel Eaton and Bruno talking about, the fans, the best fans in the world. They can't believe it. They're taken away from it. So that's going to get played in France and in Germany and in Brazil, and it's going to put us on the map. And a lot of players, like I pretty much know for a fact that Paqueta has shown his desire of wanting to be part of it. He's been in the stadium and he wants to be part because he can't believe the fan base. So yeah, I think absolutely we're so lucky to have war flags. Like, all respect to them. Like, it's just crazy. I think all we need now is some flares like they do in Turkey to make it a really psychotic welcoming to other teams. But I can't speak highly enough of war flags and the effort and the work they do, and just encourage all our viewers to donate to them when they can, because the more we donate, the better they can do and have those displays.
Yeah. This comment's from my sister-in-law, actually. Hi, Emily. She says that display was like a middle finger to Ashley. It was, wasn't it? Ashley never realised what he was sitting on, I don't think, did he? I think he chucked his toys out the pram after 2008. And I talked about this in the Financial Fair Play podcast, but he didn't ever try and maximise the commercial side of the club, and he never tried to maximise the outstanding, incredible support of the Newcastle United fans, did he?
No, what he wanted to do, he wanted to try and bankroll the club so it was financially so sufficient, which I think it was to a certain degree, but it was like that infamous Steve Bruce comment, we were just ticking along. There wasn't enough money coming in to make the club successful, or at least he wasn't willing to put enough money in the club to make it successful, and he was just siphoning out every profit going. And we all know we were just a massive billboard for his shitty Sports Direct company as well. The amount of money he paid the club directly for those adverts, I think it was like 175 grand a year, which it was the minimum amount he could pay, which was absolutely pathetic. But yeah, you said on absolute goldmine, this could have been Ashley doing this. He could have. When I'm not saying he's going to spend tens of millions on players every single transfer window, but if he, just like how he's done, buy smart rather than buy stupid, we could have been pushing mid-table. We could have been pushing Europe. We could have been pushing the cup competitions. Cup competitions meant bugger all to him because there was no money in it for him. All he wanted was Premier League safety, so it lined his pockets.
In a very weird way, and I listened to your pod a few times today, Jack, on the Financial Fair Play, and in a very weird way, now that it is worked out the way it is, it's probably the best thing that has happened that Ashley was so frugal and what he did for the club, because it's just given us a position of absolute power and where we can go from here. So if you haven't listened to the pod, guys, get on about the financial fair play. It's a really good explainer into where we are and the good that Ashley did, I suppose.
Yeah.
And to be honest, we were just a vehicle for Sports Direct. That was it, fundamentally. But the club paid its own way with its own money, and he just got what he got at. Like Sports Direct, if you have a look at the growth from them, from when he started with Newcastle to where it ended, it became a worldwide brand. So he got what he wanted out of it. But I think in a weird way, I'm actually thankful now looking back at what he did, because it's given us a massive platform to leap from now.
And I'm sure that if you spoke to him, not that anyone is ever going to speak to him, we'll try and get him on the pod. He probably, but I'm sure that he would point to the signing of Joe Linton as well. Now that Joe Linton has turned into basically the best midfielder in the world, because he, for some reason, well, now maybe we know that if you trusted what Steve Nixon was saying, even though he's playing in a different position, but he bought Joe Linton, or he put a lot of money in for Joe Linton. So we're going to talk about him again later, because he was colossal yet again. But yeah, I think in the interest of balance, it is fair to say that Mike Ashley, the way he ran things and some of the things he did, has led us, and the fact he sold the club to the people he did sell it to. He was very insistent in the end on selling it to this group, probably because they were going to give him the most money. But yeah, I think that's. I didn't think I was going to be praising Mike Ashley again on this podcast, but
I think
here we go. It's a strange world.
Everything becomes clearer in the dawness of time, I think.
It's hindsight, yeah.
Whilst we were living in the Ashley era, it was frustrating because we could see the potential we had. We could see this, and he just didn't want it to go. So we felt, being held back, and he was doing wrong by the club. But he did fight for this sale to go through. He took the Premier League to court, which in the end was the vehicle that got this done. And he ran us so frugally that now we can just explode in ways we can't imagine. I think, looking back, I don't want to thank the bloke, because I think, it was 14 years of misery, but it's okay. Like I'm happy with what happened.
Just the last thing on War Flags as well. Last night was amazing. I think the simplicity of it, the black and white and the blue star, was just brilliant. And I think the fact it was all across the whole stadium. But one of the things they've done that's going to stick out for me is their support of St. Maximin a few weeks ago, because it was right in the middle of his bad run of form. And for me, I think if other players are looking at that and saying this is the kind of support you're going to get if you're out of form, I think that's just as big a selling point as the atmosphere yesterday. I think that's so... and that's so special and so unique about this club at this particular time that I'm not sure you would get that elsewhere. So the War Flags guys need to keep doing what they're doing. They've become an essential part of this renaissance, and they will hopefully be around for a long, long time to come. What we're going to do, we'll have a very, very short break, and we'll be back, and we're going to start talking about the match. We will be back after this. All right, so Eddie Howe said that in his post-match conference. He said, this is the best we've played by a considerable distance. He said that we were on the front foot. He said we were aggressive. And he said, really importantly about the game is that we used the ball well as well. And that was something that really stood out for me. Let's have a look at the team selection. It was 4:00 in the morning for us when this team came out. Craig, what was your reaction to our team?
As expected, bar Kraft being there, I thought Trippier may have started. But apart from that, I made it quite vocal in the preview of the game that I really didn't want to see Longstaff anywhere near the starting 11. But luckily, I had egg on my face at the end of this game because he had a pretty good game, to be honest.
Yeah, I said in the preview that I thought he would start, just in the absence of any alternatives. And I said that he needs to start playing well, and we'll talk about him more later, but he did play well. What did you think, Bobby, about Callum Wilson as captain?
I wasn't surprised, and so I didn't think it was much of a shock, because I think he was vice or the next in line when he was fit and firing. But so I think he's a big player. I think we saw if he wasn't made of glass, God, what a player he'd be for us. When he's on the pitch, we're just a different side. Like the threat is amazing, but I think his experience and everything, was worthy of the captaincy. I think him or Shah, it didn't really matter, did it?
Yeah. And we were talking in our chat as well about the fact that all of a sudden we've got a lot of good leaders. Shah's been a good captain. You've got Dubravka, who could potentially be captain. You've got Byrne. You've got Joe Linton even, and then you've got Wilson, and then you've got Trippier on the bench and Lascelles, who's the club captain. Mm-hmm. So all of a sudden we've got a lot of big, strong characters, big, strong leaders in the team. And I know that people pointed out that Kieran Trippier was on the sidelines. He was warming up, and he was directing people where they should be going. He was pointing when we were defending corners and free kicks. And then Joe Linton as well was scored the second goal. He was in the huddle, and he was the one saying, "Let's concentrate," and giving everyone the pep talk.
I want to say with Joe Linton, I think I noticed it a lot. He would direct on the pitch. It's his arms failing and getting the position and demanding where people go and run. He showed amazing leadership and has done for a lot of weeks. So that was one thing that was noticeable in the game, and Trippier on the sideline. So as you said, we've got a lot of experience now, and the commentators made mention that we're one of the oldest teams in the Premier League. Mm-hmm. So that's another factor we'll have to look into next season with the age. But I think that we just recruited really good characters in January, and it sort of paid off now, hasn't it?
Yeah. It was nice to see Fraser back on the bench as well. He came on and he did all right. Chris Wood had a hip injury. That was why he wasn't on the bench, apparently. So he picked up an injury, but luckily we didn't need him. Callum Wilson managed to survive his tooth falling out to carry on playing. His tooth fell out.
When I looked at that at first, when it was shown live, I think, is that really his tooth hanging out there? Just no. And what's actually quite ironic is on the picture there, he's actually hiding that
covering his tooth
with that finger.
He'd be devastated, wouldn't he? He's all about his looks, and
he is. He's a handsome fella, but I don't think he's going to be getting many kisses tonight with only one tooth at the front.
He did an interview at the end and he couldn't really talk. He was like, "Oh, I can't talk. My fucking tooth's falling out."
He didn't want to show his tooth falling out because he's a bit of a vain sort of character, isn't he?
Yeah, but you could tell he was like a little bit bothered by it. He kept, every time the camera's on him, he was like moving his tongue around. But you would be, wouldn't you, if your fucking tooth just falling out? Let's have a look at the Arsenal team. We were thinking before the game that Arsenal might be struggling for centre-backs. In the event, they had White, who came in and played, had quite an eventful game, and Gabriel played as well, but got subbed off. Any surprises from that Arsenal team, Bobby, that you thought of?
I would have expected Lacazette to start because he has a good history against us and a bit more experience, because it's a very young team, isn't it? I mean, Granit Xhaka is the most experienced one there, and he's a hothead. So I just felt from the opening that we had it in us to get a victory out of this team. I thought they're remarkably young talent, Arsenal. Odegaard, Smith Rowe, Saka. It's incredible talent they're lining up. But I thought, with the atmosphere that we could create before the game, I thought it's where we could get them, because I just lacked so much experience.
Yeah, it was a game where it was good for us that we had all that experience playing, because we seemed to manage the occasion better, even though for Arsenal, they needed to win this game. They're going for the Champions League. You wouldn't have known that based on how the game turned out from the very beginning. But yeah, it was some of their younger players, maybe it's just a simplistic thing to say, but some of their younger players didn't seem to manage the occasion particularly well. And I know that Xhaka went out and did an interview at the end where he was like, if you can't handle it, you shouldn't be here, kind of thing. And it was a bit of an interesting thing for him to say, because he's got a bit of history with saying controversial things and for the Arsenal fans. But they're a team who's got a lot of talent. Talent-wise, they're better than us. The league table shows that. So it was just the experience for us showed through, and that was what we needed. And they ended the game with like 5 strikers on and 1 defender or something. It all got a bit kind of playground at the end, didn't it? They were just throwing strikers on because they needed to score goals. It was not very. You would think Arteta comes from kind of the Pep school of planning and organization, but it wasn't like that. It was like kind of dinosaur tactics. Just put the strikers on because we need a goal. It didn't work.
He just didn't have any ideas in the end. He just sort of ran out completely of what to do, because he said it at the end, we were 10 times better than him on the day. And I think he was just shocked by it, to be honest. So, I think the crowd, again, War Flags played into it with the young players for Arsenal. They were just overawed. You could see them when they came out, lined up. They were looking around and going, what have we walked into? And I think that, played in our favour.
And to be fair, when you're standing in the tunnel and when you're standing next to Joe Linton and you're standing next to like Dan Burn, you'd be scared, wouldn't you? If you're young and you're standing next to these guys,
it's
big intimidating fella, Dan Burn, isn't he? I mean, me and Bobby were quite the short horse around here, so us two standing next to him, that would be comical. I mean, I think we're both probably shorter than Ryan Fraser.
No. I'm taller than Ryan Fraser.
You talk about. I'm probably shorter than Ryan Fraser then, so there you go. So that would genuinely be the most comical thing going. And I mean, there's some decent-sized players in the Premier League, but when you look at Joe Linton's overall presence, his body frame, he just looks like a nasty bastard that he's going to be on the pitch and he's going to kick 7 shades of shit out of you. And it's brilliant, isn't it? He's a very intimidating figure all of a sudden.
And he does kick 7 shades of shit out of you.
He does, yeah.
Well, the big change with Joe Linton, and I'm pleased we keep talking about him and weaving him into this podcast, because he was just so good. He was absolutely everywhere in that position again. But the thing about him, we were talking about the leadership before, is he bosses people around and he directs people, and he looks like a different person to what he was before. He lacked confidence before. He didn't seem. He never gave up. He always tried, but he just had such a lack of confidence. He didn't look capable of doing what he was there to do, and maybe he wasn't in that position. But now he is like a completely different person, a completely different man, isn't he?
He's a man possessed. He really is. He's fantastic. Bobby, you stuck with Joe Linton right from the very beginning. You recognised there was a player there, but I think even you've turned around and said you never expected this type of transformation from him.
No, not at all. I think anyone who said they would be lying.
It's lying.
To be honest. I'm happy to put my hand up and say, I was one to stick up for him, but it was more on the fact that I knew he could play the game, and I knew that he was coached by Steve Bruce, who didn't know how to manage the game. It wasn't about the player that I'm seeing now. I could not in a million years would I say. And there's 2 performances I want to pick out for Joe Linton, which stands above the rest, and it was this game. And it was the one against Man United at home. He played his 2 teams in the top 6, played in the centre of midfield, and absolutely bossed the centre of midfield. Like he was the best player on the pitch. I mean, we got Bruno now that competes with him for that title. But in terms of the physicality and the defensive midfield traits, those 2 games for me, it's like, well, he against top 6 opposition, he was standout, and he'd be fit. You could swap him into those teams, and they'd be better off with him. So he's just, the turnaround's been remarkable, and I just can't be more happy for him, because he's it's just a lovely bloke. So
next season we can just talk about him on his merit as a central midfielder, instead of always saying, like, we can't believe what's happened to him, because it'll be a new season. So he's turned into a cult hero. But we've talked before about a cult hero is actually allowed to be good, or do they have to be like Shola? Do they have to be, or like Antoine Sibierski? Do they have to be a bit shit? I don't know. I suppose Nobby was probably a cult hero as well, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, there's a good few over the years. I think for me, my biggest cult hero is Mickey Quinn. He never really hit the headlights or anything like that. He should have done it in Newcastle. Keegan never gave him his chance. But yeah, I love the man. He's my ultimate cult hero. And no doubt Joe Linton will be the same for fans when I was the age how long was it? 6 or 7 when Mickey Quinn was playing for us. So there'll be fans that age now will be thinking the same when they're 36, 37, like I am now. He's a phenomenon. And as much as Bobby loves him, and we all know Bobby loves Big Joe, he's his favourite by far. I still can't get the idea of the fact that, again, we talk about he was a failed striker. Yes, that's a given. He's a failed striker, but he is now a tormentor box-to-box midfielder. And like Bobby just said, he would slot in any midfield in the Premier League now, and possibly even most in Europe, bar the likes of Real Madrid, that type of thing. Maybe Liverpool or Man City would struggle, but he's got to be the first name on the team sheet, even above the captain or anything like that. He's just been that good. Recently, he's superb. I can't speak enough highly about him.
Well, he's player of the year this year, and really it was for half a year. We keep forgetting that he wasn't Joel until Norwich, and that was only for 3/4 of a game. So I think the one thing I hope we don't do is take him away from that enforcer in the midfield role and try to score in. He can play left wing, he can play that position. He's got that versatility, but I think he deserves to be the starting centre defensive midfielder now. And what that does is maybe allow us to get more attacking options in the midfield. And so I just hope it'll be an interesting summer for a range of reasons. But this is my one thing I'm really interested in, what they do with Joe.
Even when he was playing in midfield, he still was getting forward. So he still had that license to get forward. So he created the first goal by getting forward into that left wing position. So he's got the engine and he's got the energy to do that. But yeah, like you're saying, if we're going to get someone like Paqueta or an attacking midfielder, maybe Joe will just be told to play a bit more withdrawn and just stay back, doing what he does in the defensive midfield.
His energy is it's first class. Like he was almost a centre forward on occasions, and then all of a sudden he's the one making the challenge in the centre of the park to get back.
Yeah,
his fitness is unbelievable.
Yeah, and fitness, he's always been fit, hasn't he? Even when that's never been a question for him. He's always been available and he's always been fit and he's always had that energy. So the first half, the thing that really stuck out to me about this, which was different from previous games, is that we had the ball. We had a lot of the ball. We had 63% possession by half time. And we had at every stage of the first half, when the possession stat came up, we always had 60% possession or more. So this was something that Howe picked up. He said we used the ball well, but it was still a bit of a surprise for me to see this, because we were playing against a team who were so good at keeping the ball. And I think that we do have players, like we've got Bruno, who can do this on his own. He's always got an 85% plus pass completion, but I was still surprised that we ended up having this much possession. And something else that did happen as well, though, is that Arsenal had more shots in the first half. They had 6 shots to our 4. They didn't really have any clear-cut chances.
No.
And the best chances that we had was Maxi when he cut in, and Ramsdale made a really good save. And then Longstaff had a chance as well when he was in on the far side. So we kind of had the better chances. We had a lot more of the ball. We were much more aggressive, and sort of we were doing the high coordinated press, which was working really well, which looks like a really difficult thing to get right, because otherwise good teams can just play around you. But we did that. We did that to Ramsdale even, and he nearly gave it up to Miggy at one point.
Yeah.
So you could just see that really unsettled Arsenal. Eddie Howe said that we wanted to play the game quickly because we knew about Arsenal's injuries at the back. We knew that they had some of those problems. So it was a conscious decision to play quickly and, have the tempo, and the crowd probably helped with that as well. We had a lot of corners. We had 8 corners, but we went in at half time and it was 0-0 despite all this. Craig, what were you feeling at half time? What was your thoughts?
A little bit anxious, a little bit apprehensive, because Arsenal had 1 or 2 quality players such as Martinelli on the bench, and he is a game changer for them. I'm surprised he didn't start, to be honest. But yeah, there's always that fear and trepidation with Newcastle, especially if the game drags on and the crowd start getting a little bit on your back, that type of thing. But now we started the game pretty much the same momentum as we finished the first. at the start of the second half. We finished the first. It was great. And I think if it wasn't for the break for when Shaw went down with a concussion, I think it was, I think at that point we were all over them. They had a slight spell of possession after that. We seem to lose a bit of concentration when there's been a serious break in play. I think back Everton, the bloke tied to the post. Then which one was again? There was another major stoppage in the Spurs game at the start of the season where unfortunately the bloke had a heart attack in the crowd. Whenever there's a major stop, we just seem to lose momentum. And I was hoping that wasn't going to happen there, but it didn't. We remained focused. We remained stuck. We stuck with the job, and we ploughed on. It was great.
Bobby, a couple of questions for you. Did you expect us to be able to keep this intensity and this aggression up for the whole game? And what do you think? Why do you think we ended up with these possession and these passing stats in this game all of a sudden?
To your first question, I was surprised that we were doing it in the first place. So whether we could keep it up, it was, I thought maybe the first half, the atmosphere from the crowd played into, the effort and the intensity that we sort of displayed. And you could see we had a way we wanted to approach Arsenal. We wanted to press them high and continuously, because I think, again, the area of experience, I think Eddie would have seen as one thing we could probably get at. So no, I didn't know what to expect the second half. I thought we should have been at least 1-0 up at the break, and that was the only thing concerning to me at half time. That we should have hoped, or I was hoping that we'd take one of our chances and be up at the break. But we continued on in the second half, and yeah, it was good.
Yeah. Craig's already referenced the Shaw injury, so he kind of seemed to get. It was weird. He seemed to get like hit or elbowed or something by Nketiah, but they didn't show a replay of it because he'd gone down and then he bashed his head off the ground, and the players looked really worried. So it's very good that he tweeted straight after the game that he didn't tweet he was all right. He just tweeted a video of the crowd like most of the players did, the wore flags. So he was obviously all right, and Lascelles came on and didn't put a foot wrong. He was fine. And then not that long after that, we took the lead. Craig, talk us through this goal.
Well, it came from a foul throw-in, if I remember rightly. And the one good thing about VAR is they don't contest throw-ins. So they like to make their own rules on that one, and thankfully that's a rule that went to our advantage. So it was on the left-hand side. Ball's played up to Maxi. He plays a daisy cutter along the grass to Joe Linton, who just gets on his bike and he just burns down that left wing, gets his head up, gets the cross and puts it into the danger area. And if it didn't go in off Ben White, I think Wilson would have tucked it away regardless. It was cracking build up, and the pace involved in it was just superb as well. And I think everyone thought Wilson scored it first, but replay showed his definite own goal. But like I say, I think Wilson would have tucked it away regardless. Cracking build up.
He kind of, when he was celebrating, I think we just thought it was a Wilson goal because you weren't celebrating it. But I think he kind of knew when you looked at him afterwards. First of all, he was trying not to smile too much because of his tooth. But he kind of looked a little bit sheepish, so I think he knew that it wasn't his goal. But who cares? I think let's just give it to him because he was so dangerous and he was so effective all game. Let's talk about the difference then at this point of having Wilson instead of Chris Wood. Chris Wood's been he's fought hard, he's done what he's been asked to do, but he's not as good as Callum Wilson, is he, Bobby?
Absolutely not. And this is you can't be critical of Chris Wood because he did a lot of dirty work that played into a system, but when we had Chris Wood up top, we just had no attacking prowess. Wilson gets into the right spots. He's tenacious in his pressing, but the main thing about him, he just knows how to score a goal or how to get us in a position to score a goal. That goal was all Callum Wilson because he was there and Ben White was shitting bricks, and so had to put his leg out and got a touch to it. And I agree with Craig. Wilson had it ready to go. It was a goal regardless. I think the difference between Wilson and the next best, which is Chris Wood, is significant, and in how we play. And it's just we just need to get his body right. He needs to play at least 90% of game time for us to be a challenger for that top 8, or we get someone in front of him, which I don't think he'll like. So it's going to, as I said, this summer is just going to be so interesting, in what we do as a football club. But Callum Wilson was just there, I think, to remind us that, hey, I'm still top dog here, and I can provide something.
Yeah, and it's interesting with that position because we only play one striker as well. So it's always good to have the option to change things up. Like any good manager will want the option to go 2 up front. And I know that Howe used to play Wilson up front with Josh King at Bournemouth quite a lot with good success. It's obvious that Maxi prefers playing with Wilson. He enjoys his movement more and he gets a bit more space from that. It would be interesting if we do go and spend 50 million, 60 million on a striker, what that does with Wilson, whether he starts the season or not. It's just going to be very interesting. But even he would probably say that we can't rely on him because of his fitness. It's the one thing about him. He's brilliant. He's a brilliant striker, but he just can't stay fit. And that's, if you're not fit, you're no use really.
Yeah, absolutely. Like we just can't rely on him. Honestly, I love him, and I think he's one of the best strikers we've had in our team, in our club for a long time. But how do you just say, okay, we're not going to get another striker, and then we're going to go with Wilson and Chris Wood for next season? We know what's going to happen. We'll have Chris Wood for the majority of the season, and it's going to hinder us more than like. Chris Wood will provide something for us, and I think he'd be perfect to have coming off the bench next season. But if Wilson was going to be that player that could be there for a lot of the season, then that's fine. But I think we all know that Wilson's body isn't going to hold up.
So, Wilson, it was after the Burnley game, I think it was, we were talking about him, how good he was in that game. And he does have that leadership, and he's got that quality, and he's got traits of Shearer when he plays like that. But he's got the pace that Shearer didn't have later on in his career. But he's really good when he does get on the pitch, and he makes such a huge difference. Even against Man City when he came on, he got a couple of chances that Chris Wood wouldn't have got. So I think Chris Wood will be here, but he'll be third or fourth choice striker probably for next season. He probably knew that when he signed, and that's fine. I think that's absolutely fine. That's his role he's going to play. And like we were saying the other day, Craig, he'll probably just have the Daryl Murphy title of being well thought of. Thanks for the service, but yeah, you're not going to be starting, and you'll probably understand that. Do you think, Craig?
Yeah, you can't have any complaints really. He's 2 goals in 16 appearances, I think it is. It's not striker form. It's barely even attacking midfield form, to be honest. But he has helped out massively in other departments, especially defensively when we've needed him, when games haven't really gone our way in the last 20 minutes or so, and he's fought back, helped us out. But yeah, he's going to be a squad player at best, 3rd, 4th choice striker. And he may even get as amount of limited time as what Dwight Gale's had this season.
He's a good character, though, isn't he? He's another one that you've got in that's a good character around the dressing room and got that leadership and experience, and I think that helps the whole club as well. So, yeah, I think next season, if he's 3rd choice, I'm happy with that.
Yeah. All right. So after we scored, the game got a little bit scrappy. Arsenal brought every striker on the bench off onto the pitch, so things got a little bit disjointed. It was a bit ragged. But we started getting more chances. They were kind of coming forward trying to score, not having very much success. And then we had a couple of chances. We had the Murphy and Fraser Chuckle brothers went forward 2-on-1. Murphy basically could have just ran in a straight line into the net if he'd have wanted to, but he just hasn't got that. He lacks confidence, doesn't he, when he's got time to think like that? So at least he didn't hit the post this time. But Ramsdale ended up making a good save. Wilson had that shot. That was the volley from the camera. The camera wasn't quite ready for it. It was about 40 yards out. Volley that went just wide. But go on, Craig, you're going to say something?
If you get the opportunity, and I watched this on my lunch break at work today, on my dinner break, if you watch the local commentary along with the match footage on Newcastle's official YouTube page, the moment where Wilson takes that shot from 40 yards out, genuinely, you can hear the commentators have an orgasm literally the second it leaves his boot. They're like, "Oh!"
It wasn't
I
too
had
dissimilar to
the
what I did.
headphones on. I was listening to it at work at full volume. It was genuinely one of the best things I've ever heard. Full on mangasm in St James's Park commentary booth. When you get the chance, listen to it. You'll be pissing yourself with laughter.
That'll have been Matthew Raisbeck, wasn't it?
Not sure. Maybe Justin Lockwood.
Oh, okay. All right. Because I was going to say we've got Matthew Raisbeck coming on next week, so if it is him, we'll be giving him a little bit of stick about that.
Absolutely.
Might be able to play it to him, but yeah, it sounded similar to my lounge room at that time in the morning when I saw that too. I thought it was in.
Yeah, it would have been some goal. One of the things that did happen in this period, Arsenal weren't really creating very much, and we were pretty easily defending, but they did get forward at one point, and the ball came to Odegaard in the pretty much penalty spot or just outside. And this moment, and it just exemplifies what this team is, because there was four Newcastle defenders were in the way of the shot. So he hit the first one, which was Bruno. So that was the best chance they had. Bruno blocked it, and if he hadn't have blocked it, Target would have, and if Target hadn't, Burn would have, and if Burn wouldn't, Lascelles would have. That was what the desire, and that was what the intensity and the courage of the team was at that point, to defend and to hold on to this. And then the bit of quality. So Bruno blocked it, then he got up, and then he just dinged the ball past the attacker, and he won a free kick. So that quality from Bruno to do that, to defend in that way, and this is what has been maybe a bit of a surprise about Bruno, or maybe not a surprise to people who knew him from Lyon, but it's just his all-around game is absolutely it's just incredible. He plays a different sport to everybody else on the pitch, and it's not just his attacking goals. He scored 5 goals for us now, but it's his defensive work, and it's his all-around game, which is just he looks to be the complete midfielder at this point in time, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think when he came to us, all the footage was he was going to be a defensive midfielder, because I think Paqueta does more of the attacking, and Bruno sort of that, sort of more of a defensive-minded player than what he's shown here. Like, I think he can play in both. He's just a remarkable player. That even that touch, you said, to get past the defender in the box, like, who plays that pass? And he gets around him. It was just remarkable, and he's just been like, he's different. He's on a different planet, that guy. And it's funny that he bossed the game. I gave him a 10. I think he controlled the tempo, he controlled the press, he controlled what was going to happen, and getting back and defending. And I gave him a 10, and he's a clear standout again for us, which is just remarkable.
Like all good players, he seems to just have as much time as he wants, and he seems to just make the right decision, and he seems to just make it look easy, doesn't he? Like, you look at him and you just think, why can't other players do this? Like, you make it look that simple.
I think it was good to see him perform like that against a good side. I think we've seen he was okay against Liverpool. He was okay against Chelsea. Probably wasn't great against Tottenham, but I think he needed to have a big game against a big club. And it was amazing that because we played with more attacking prowess, he was able to have that confidence to pin passes and do what he had to do. So, I think it was good to see him play well against a top 4 or a top 5 club. Yeah.
So, Craig, Bruno's just made that defensive block, and then a couple of minutes later, he's up the pitch and he's making it 2-0. Fifth goal for Newcastle. It wasn't quite as spectacular as his Leicester goal, but how was things in your house in Cairns when that goal went in, Craig?
Well, I'd already woke my wife up with the first goal, and she'd text me from the bedroom saying, "Can you keep it down, please?" Which is just, if anything, going to encourage me to shout more. Stupid thing to ask.
What about the deaf dog?
Sorry?
What about the deaf dog?
The deaf dog, he was already up and about walking. God knows what he was up to at that stupid clock in the morning. But I probably woke him up and all. It was genuinely I'm so happy for Bruno. The fact it's already working out for him. He didn't even take any settling in period, did he? He just literally hit the ground running. But the goal itself, I'm going to give a little bit of credit to Sean Longstaff here, because he made the recovery tackle to keep the play alive. And rather than shooting as the crowd were shouting for him to do, he done a dink little chip pass over for Wilson. Wilson runs onto it. Keeper just manages to smother it. Bounces, I think it's straight to Bruno. And Bruno just via deflection, or whether deflection was over the line, not really sure, but it goes into the back of the net, runs away to the Gallagher end in raptures, and stadium just went absolutely apeshit, and it was fucking fantastic again.
I'm pleased you've picked up Longstaff there. It was very, very clever pass that he did.
Mm-hmm.
And Longstaff is somebody who we all three of us criticised him against Norwich because he had a poor game, and he's only had a handful of decent games this season. But I made the point in the preview that I don't want him to be seen as like a competition winner. I don't want him to have that kind of status as the player that everyone groans and everyone hates when he's on the pitch, because I think he does have something about him. I think he's proven that. Bobby, what's your thought on Longstaff and his potential position in the squad for next season, and what can he do for this club at this point?
If he plays like that all the time, he can have a squad place. I've got no doubt about that. But it's been 3 games I think he's had this season where he's been better than good. He was very good this morning. He was sensational, and if we can play like that, then yeah, there's a player there, and it's someone, you know, with the homegrown factor and everything like that. You've got to keep him around. So I understand. I'm just going to trust in Eddie. I'm just going to trust, because it was my one big thing I had doubts on with Eddie. Like, why does he want to keep this guy around? He's just not that good. And then he pulls out a performance like that, and you think, well, as we said in that Norwich pod, he still gets another pre-season with Eddie, you know. And I think that's going to improve him more. So I keep tossing and turning. I think after Norwich, I was like, nah, I just don't see why he's even in the squad. But now I'm like, all right, he deserves to be in the squad, and it's good to have a local lad in and around, and hopefully with, you know, Elliot Anderson coming back and stuff. I think there's a couple of Geordies with, you know, around the squad. It's good.
And I think it's relatively risk-free as well for the club, so we can keep him, and if he doesn't play much, then all it's doing is taking up a squad space, and we might make some money on him, because he has proven he can play at this level, and I think he'd be a very, very good championship player for somebody. So if he gets to January and he's not playing enough, he wants to go, he can go on loan, or we can potentially sell him. You know, I think he's done enough to show that he's worth a bit of money, and that someone in the championship especially would get get some good stuff out of him, I think. Uggie's comments here made me laugh. He says he gave everyone a 10 today, even Hendrick. Jeff Hendrick. It's funny, isn't it? You think about Jeff Hendrick, and then you look at Bruno, and it's like how these guys play for the same club. Don't want to pick on Hendrick. The difference is
literally black and white, isn't it?
And in the same season, Hendrick was here this season, wasn't he?
Yeah, playing games. He scored the last goal of the Mike Ashley era.
He did.
For me, I think other than 95, this will be the most remarkable season I've witnessed at Newcastle, because of the change. Like, it was just like half the season, it was like, we're going down, we're no good. We've got Jeff Hendrick playing for us. It's just totally shocking. And then now it's like we've got all these top quality players, and we're the 4th most improved team in the competition. And it's just been a remarkable season, and something like, I can't, you know, when we say something like Jeff Hendrick played for us this season, you sort of got to remember where we came from. And it's just, it's quite insane, to be honest.
So we saw out the match, and we beat Arsenal 2-0. Like I said, second win over them in 20 games. These are the stats. I was surprised about the possession stat at the end of this game. So at halftime, we had 63% possession. By full time, it was down to 51% possession. So Arsenal had somehow clawed back quite a lot of that possession in the second half, although they didn't do anything with it other than that one block shot they had. They were pretty poor. All I can really remember them doing is passing it out of play quite a lot. We had by full time we'd had 16 shots to their 11, so we'd really sort of outshot them, and we'd had more 12 corners to 8 as well. Do the stats reflect the game, Craig?
They do, except the possession one. I'm with you on that one. It did seem as if we dominated that possession, but that stat shows it was a very balanced game, to be honest. Shots, you're absolutely right. We limited them to shots from 25, 30, 40 yards out, and they troubled more the corner flag than they did the top corner. And to keep players the likes of Saka quiet, because Saka, who's a phenomenal talent, and he is been on decent form recently as well. It shows that we were on top of the game all the way through. Corners, I'm surprised we didn't do more aerial threat from the corners, to be honest, especially the likes of Burnley and Lascelles in there. I know there was one opportunity where Lascelles had a chance to cut it back from a corner, but it didn't come to anything. That is a strange one. We didn't make more of that. Fouls, it doesn't really bother me on that one. One thing I want to try and comment on, and I wonder if someone can correct me on this one, but I think we didn't pick up any yellow cards in that game at all. So yet we were aggressive but controlled with it as well, which I think is absolutely fantastic at this stage in the season, because it's so easy to pick up yellow cards when players are tired, have had a long season, everyone's a bit fatigued. But to play that game at that tempo and not pick up any bookings, I think that's a credit to the players and the coaching staff as well.
Yeah. I think usually Joe Linton gets a customary yellow card at some point towards the end for getting angry about something, but that didn't happen, did it? So yeah, that's a good point, Craig. To play with that intensity for 90 minutes, 96 minutes it was in the end, and to control it in that way is a very, very skillful thing to do.
Compare our fitness today from the first game of the season when we played West Ham, and we were burnt out after 30 minutes, and now we're running on top of the grass at 90 minutes here. It's chalk and cheese, isn't it?
Amazing. All right, we'll have a chat about man of the match, and we'll have a couple of final thoughts on the game, and then we're going to look at the league table. So, man of the match, I'll go first. It was Joe Linton. He was absolutely brilliant. I think Bruno was probably a close second behind him, but I just think Joe Linton, you could give it to Bruno every game, really, because he is the best player on the pitch pretty much all the time, especially when we win. So I want to shout out a bit. And Joe Linton was just imperious today. It was his best performance for us, which is saying a lot considering how well he's played this season since he's gone into midfield. And he completely and utterly deserves the Player of the Season award. And when we do our end of season awards in a couple of weeks in the 200 podcast, I think that'll probably be a popular choice there as well. Craig, man of the match?
Joe Linton followed very closely. I'm not going to say Bruno because I say Bruno every other week. Purely the fact that how well he played after being out for best part of 5 months, Callum Wilson. And he played about half an hour against Man City. There was obviously a bit of rust then, still a bit of rust today. But the extra dimension he gave over what Chris would have, it was superb. And I just hope, like Bobby says, he stays fit because he adds just that extra dimension that we've lacked since back end of December when he got injured. So Joe Linton followed very closely by Callum Wilson. Bobby?
I'm going to say I gave Bruno a 10. He was the only player to get a 10. He was the one that bossed the game, but Joe Linton was I think Joe Linton and Wilson got 9s from me. So they were very close. I agree with you, Craig. The difference Wilson making, I thought in the first half he was easily our best player, Wilson. He was phenomenal, but I think, for me, I'll give it to Bruno. I think scoring the goal at the end sort of ticked it off for me. I will say, Joe Linton, I think that he was the 2 games is the Man U in this game. They're both where he's just shown that he can play that position really well.
They both look the same, don't they, with the blonde haircut as well now?
I didn't know who was who half the time. So I'm going to go pink or something.
I think I'll dye my hair. I'll dye my hair blonde, I think, soon. No, I already did that when I was 18 with bleach. That's why it all fell out.
Same with me, mate. Same with me.
I'm getting there. I'm going really thin, unfortunately.
Right, let's have a look at the league table. So this we all took the piss out of Dimmy big time when he said 7 games ago that we were going to get 12 more points. I think he said at that point.
Yeah.
Oh, he actually said 14 initially, and then Lee mocked him, so he brought it down to 12. And we've had 15 points in that time. So Dimmy was actually being a bit pessimistic and a bit cautious.
Which is not like him.
It's not like him. He'll have to say 21 points next time because, but fair play to him for getting close to that because I didn't think we were gonna win every game apart from Liverpool and Man City. We're sitting now in 12th position on 46 points. A couple of teams around us have got a game in hand to play this midweek, but we're not going to finish any lower than 14th unless Southampton win both of their games and we lose to Burnley. And we could finish as high as probably 9th, 10th, maybe, depending on what happens.
Southampton about Liverpool, so they're not going to win that one.
Yeah. So thoughts about that? When you look at that league table, Bobby, thoughts on that?
It's utterly bewildering. Like to see how close we are to Arsenal, the two highlighted teams, and from where we were, it's just ridiculous. And you know what? From Arsenal down, there's not much between us and none of those teams actually give me any fear for next season that we can't catch them. So it's just been a remarkable turnaround, and to be even, I'm just blown away. Like I think we all thought if we got 17th, it would be a massive season for us.
That was the objective. Yeah, that was the objective when Eddie came in, wasn't it? It was 17th, and nothing else matters.
8 games into Eddie's reign, we were thinking, well, look, let's just hope we get 17th because that'll be great for us. To be game to go and be 12th, remarkable.
This is the highest points tally of any season since 2014, and we've still got 1 game to go. This is the same points tally we got in 2010, 2011, which was the season we got promoted when we had Andy Carroll up until January, and we had Joey Barton and Kevin Nolan, and that was a really good season. There was a lot of memorable games that season, and there's been a lot of memorable games this season as well. Craig, happy about being 12th?
Nah. I think
shit. We need to be higher.
Shit. Yeah, I want to be first, but we all. I would have bit your hand off for 12th place with a game to go. If you had said that, after even the Watford game, to be honest, final whistle after that said, yep, 37th game, you're going to be 12th, mathematically safe with 3 or 4 games to go. Would you take it? Absolutely, yes. The fact that we can get a top 10 finish is actually shows how poor the bottom half of the table have been. If we had 7 points after, I think it was 14 games, and we can get a top 10 finish, it's actually quite laughable, to be honest. It's almost embarrassing.
And we're only 10 points behind West Ham. We're only 2 points off Leicester with all of Leicester's good players. There's no reason we're gonna do pods over the summer where we talk and we'll preview the next season, but there's no reason at all why we can't be looking at 8th, maybe 7th, maybe 6th. I don't know. Bobby?
It's not remarkable for me. Like I think looking at it now, why top 8 isn't something that we can achieve even with minimal recruits in the summer. These teams like your West Hams, your Wolves, your Leicesters, your Brightons, your Brentfords, we can be better and we can be bigger. And then with the problems Man United have got, and who knows what Arsenal do. Look, I want to be conservative and just aim for a top 8 finish. And as I said, I'd be happy with a season where we're not even bothered to be in the relegation battle and we have a good cup run. But you look at that and you think we've got to be aiming for at least a top 8 here.
Yeah. And then Craig's put together this slide for the audio people. This is a representation of our league position as the season has progressed. So you can see by game 22, we were 19th by the Watford game. And then there goes a steady nice little smooth staircase right up to 14th by the Brentford game. And we got as high as 10th after Norwich, and then now we're settled nicely into 12th. If we can finish 12th, I think that would just be a great end to the season. We've got Burnley next week, who are going to be fighting for their life, so we'll see what happens in that game. Any final reflections on this game or on anything else before we close up, or have got anything else we need to cover?
I just want to say thank you to, I know they're never going to see this or hear this, but to Amanda, to Mirdad, to Piff, to Ruben Brothers, to Jamie, because without them, we wouldn't be doing as well as we have been this season. We were gone. We were on life support and were ready to pull the plug effectively. We were almost dead. And without them, we continue on not only as a fan base, but as a club. We get to continue doing this next season, because I think we would have struggled next season with no Premier League coverage. We've been really tough as a podcast. It's a bit of a fact, but it's something that without them, the club, like I say, it was close to death. It was horrific. That game, if we all remember the Wolves game, that was the lowest I've ever felt as a supporter for X amount of years now. And the week after then, I don't know how many days it was from the takeover, but every single week, it just seems to be getting a little bit better and better and better. And I love the fact that they were on the pitch doing the lap of honor or the parade lap or whatever you want to call it. They were talking to the fans. They were getting selfies. They're as integral as part of this, if not more, than what Eddie and the players have been. It's just been an absolute breath of fresh air. And I know we've had 14 years of shit with Ashley. And if the next 14 years are the polar opposite to it, then we are in for one hell of a ride. And I, for one, can't wait.
I think I agree with that. I think we just have to be wary of owners as well, though. I'm always going to have that. And I think it's probably healthy to have that, just to be a bit wary that they're going to be making unpopular decisions sometimes. They're going to be doing things that people don't like. They're probably going to sack Eddie Howe at some point in the future, because that's the way football goes, But for now, like, I agree wholeheartedly with what you've said. To have a club where everyone is pulling in the same direction the way they are, I think that's what's so special about this. Their inclusivity of the fans, their engagement with war flags. But yeah, this comment from Oogie, the passion, the emotions. I think it's genuine from them, and I think that we are lucky to have them. Amanda Staveley fought for this for a long time. So let's give them all the support. They deserve all of the support, and let's judge them on their actions as well. And let's hope that they can keep on going the way they have started, because the whole purpose, the whole reason why we're so excited and why the stadium was in that frenzy it was in yesterday is because of them. Because without them, like Craig just said, it wouldn't be happening. So let's enjoy it while it lasts. Let's be a little bit mindful of the challenges that are to come, but let's absolutely enjoy it while it lasts, and long may that continue. Bobby?
Yeah, they've awoken the sleeping giant. They've managed to do something that not many others have been able to do. To see the crowd united and the city and the club as one is the most remarkable thing they'll ever do. You can talk about whatever happens. What they've done in half a season has been nothing short of brilliant. I think for me, I'm a bit like you, Jack. It's like their owners, they'll make unpopular decisions. They'll do things that are uncomfortable, I think, in a lot of ways. But I've just got full thanks, like you, Craig, for them, particularly Amanda and Mirdad, because they never gave up. There's times when they didn't have to keep fighting. They didn't have to keep pushing. They didn't have to find an owner who would back down and then go to another ownership. So they proved themselves in that to me, that I want them around. I want them to see the success, and I want them to be lauded as much as anything. So, that's just my take on it.
Yeah. To me, that seems like a good place to finish. We will be back for probably the Burnley preview, last game of the season. And then after that, we've got Matthew Raisbeck coming on next week. So that'll be really exciting for us, the BBC Radio Newcastle commentator. He should have some stories for us, and it'll be good to talk to someone who's got that experience of being in the stadium and looking at this through that different lens. Please do subscribe. Please keep subscribing to us if you're enjoying the content, and please keep liking on Facebook and following us at Tune Under Pod. We love the interaction. We love the chat, and we will see you soon. Thanks very much, Craig.
Cheers, mate. Have a good one.
Thanks very much, Bobby.
Thanks, guys.
We can all go to bed happy Newcastle fans. Bye for now.